I don't do that. I swear, I didn't do it. You've got to believe me.
I have a family to take care of. I have to do what's best for them.
These documents clearly demonstrate entry.
Your Honor, my client is entitled to half of the marital property valued at $370,000. Sandra Mitchell sat frozen in the defendant's chair. Her ex-husband Derek, the man she hadn't lived with in 4 years, was suing her for $185,000, half of everything she owned. The house she'd bought with her own paycheck. The house she'd scraped and saved for. The house Derek had never set foot in. Her hands trembled in her lap. The courtroom felt too small, too hot. Before we go further, hit that like button and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, should a man who spent 4 years lying to everyone be entitled to half of a house he never contributed to? Because what you're about to hear would change how you think about marriage, money, and family secrets. This is a story about a woman who worked 2 jobs while her husband played music in nightclubs. About a father who sent money every month to help his son's family, money that never reached them. About lies that lasted 4 years and a truth that would destroy a 68-year-old man's heart. And that wasn't even the worst part. Derek's lawyer had evidence. Bank statements showing deposits from Derek's father Frank, $3,500 every single month for 4 years. $168,000 total. Money Frank thought was feeding his grandson, paying for daycare, keeping a roof over their heads. Sandra had never seen a penny of it. Where did the money go? The judge would ask. That's when everything would unravel. That's when Frank Mitchell, retired city official, pillar of his church, devoted grandfather, that's when his world would crack open. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how a marriage dies slowly in silence, while everyone pretends to smile for the camera. My name is Sandra Mitchell. I'm 46 years old now. For 8 years, from 2004 to 2012, I owned and operated Little Wonders, a children's clothing boutique in the Dilworth neighborhood of Charlotte, North Carolina. One location, modest income, around $52,000 a year after expenses, but steady, reliable. I met Derek at a wedding in 2008. He was DJing. 24 years old, confident, full of energy. He worked the crowd like he was born to it. When he played The Way You Look Tonight, he looked right at me. We were married 4 months later. Too fast. Everyone said it. My mother, my friends, even my accountant. But Derek had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. Like your dreams mattered. Like he'd build them with you. Our son Alex was born in March 2009. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect. That's when things started changing. Derek's gigs were always at night. Fridays, Saturdays, sometimes Thursday through Sunday straight. He'd come home at 4 a.m. smelling like cigarette smoke and spilled beer, sleep until 2 p.m., then head to his friend Victor's house. Studio session, he'd say, working on new tracks. Victor Malone, also a DJ. They'd known each other since high school, worked the same club circuit. Victor had a home recording studio in his basement in Davidson, about 30 minutes north of Charlotte. Derek spent more time at Victor's than he did with Alex and me. Baby needs quiet during the day, I'd say. I know. That's why I'm at Vic's. Can't make noise here. It made sense. At the time. Frank, Derek's father, visited every Sunday, drove down from Greensboro hour and a half each way. He'd bring groceries, diapers, a check. For my grandson, Frank would say, pressing the envelope into Derek's hand, make sure Sandra gets what she needs. I never saw those checks. Dad gave us $3,500 this month, Derek would announce. I deposited it. It's in savings. There was no savings account. I found out later, much later, that Derek had opened an account in his name only. Frank's checks went straight in. Nothing came out for Alex. For rent, for food. But in 2009, I didn't know any of this. I was working 50-hour weeks at the boutique, nursing Alex, barely sleeping. Derek was pursuing his music career. That's what we told people. The photos from that time, you can see it if you look close. Alex on my hip, face tired. Derek's arm around my shoulder, but his body angled away, smile not reaching his eyes. We looked like a family. We weren't. By late 2010, Derek was spending 4-5 nights a week at Victor's. Not just evenings, entire nights. Studios booked solid, he'd explain. Easier to just crush there. Frank would call me. How's my boy doing? Is he taking good care of you and Alex? He's working hard, I'd say. Not a lie. Just not the truth. What I didn't say, Derek hadn't touched me in 8 months. Hadn't asked about Alex's daycare. Hadn't been present for a single pediatrician appointment. What I didn't say, I was raising our son alone while living with a man who treated our home like a hotel. December 2010. Alex's second Christmas coming. I sat Derek down at the kitchen table, the oak one Frank had bought us as a wedding gift. This isn't working. Derek looked up from his phone. What isn't? You're never here. I don't know if we're married or roommates. Long pause. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, someone's dog barked. I love you, Derek said finally. Flat. Automatic. Like reading from a script. Do you? Another pause. I need time, he said. The music thing is about to break. Vic and I have a residency offer at Club Meridian. Big money. Once that happens, what? You'll come home. He didn't answer. I filed for divorce in January 2011. The process server tried 3 times to deliver divorce papers to Derek. Left notices at the address Derek had listed, Victor's house in Davidson. Derek never showed up to court. North Carolina law allows default judgment if the defendant doesn't respond after proper notice. In March 2011, Judge Patricia Hendricks granted the divorce. Simple, clean, uncontested. I thought I was free. I got a job offer in August 2012. Management position with a children's apparel chain, $68,000 base. I have to give up my boutique, but the stability was worth it. Benefits, retirement plan, regular hours that meant I could actually see my son. I took it. With the sale of my business, I got $48,000 after paying off suppliers and closing costs. Combined with what I'd managed to save over the years, I had $62,000. Not enough for a down payment. Not in Charlotte. My mother took $75,000 from her retirement account. You're not doing this alone, she said. Together, we had $137,000 down. I found a 3-bedroom ranch in Concord, just outside Charlotte. Built 1987, needed updates, but structurally sound. Asking price $280,000. I offered $265,000. They countered at $275,000. I got a mortgage for the remaining $138,000 at 4.2% interest. The house closed October 15th, 2012. Title in my name only. Sandra Mitchell. Divorced. Single mother. That house meant everything. It meant Alex had a backyard. It meant stability. It meant I'd built something on my own. Spring 2013. Alex was 4 years old. We'd be in the house 6 months. Frank called. Sandra, honey, can I come by Saturday? Need to talk to you and Derek about something. My chest tightened. Frank, Derek doesn't live here. We've been divorced for 2 years. Silence on the line. Long. Heavy. Divorced? His voice cracked. What are you talking about? Frank, I filed in January 2011. It was finalized in March. Derek never responded to the summons. More silence. He told me you were working things out. He showed me pictures. You, him, Alex at the park at the zoo. Recent pictures. Those pictures. I remembered them. Derek had called in October 2012, asked if he could take Alex to the zoo. Dad's having heart trouble, Derek had said. Wants family photos. I'd gone along, for Frank, because Frank was a good man who'd always been kind to me. We'd spent 4 hours at the North Carolina Zoo in Asheboro. Derek hired a photographer. We smiled, held hands, pretended. The photos were dated October 2012. Frank thought they were proof of reconciliation. He's been lying to you, I told Frank. I'm so sorry. Frank's voice went quiet. That's not all he lied about. Frank arrived Saturday morning. He looked older than I remembered. Face grey, hands shaking as he spread papers across my kitchen table. Bank statements, checks, wire transfers. I've been sending Derek $3,500 every month since Alex was born, Frank said. Thought I was helping you, helping my grandson. 4 years. $168,000. My stomach dropped. Frank, I never saw that money. Derek told me you gave us maybe $500 here and there, but nothing regular. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. You're saying he kept it. Selling my business and a loan from my mother. Derek's never contributed a dime to Alex's life. Frank pulled out his phone, called Derek right there. Speaker on. Hey Dad, what's up? Where's the money, son? Pause. What money? The money I've been sending you. For Sandra and Alex. $168,000. Longer pause. Dad, that money went to the family. Bills, food, daycare. Sandra says she never saw it. She's lying. She's bitter about the divorce and... Frank's face went red. Don't. I was just at her house. The house you're suing her for half of. The house she bought with her own money, while you apparently spent mine on God knows what. Derek's voice got defensive. I invested it. In my career. The studio equipment, marketing, demo production, it all costs money. I was building something for our family's future. Your family, Frank said slowly, that you've been divorced from for 2 years. Click. Derek hung up. Frank looked at me. I need to see bank records. I need to know where my money went. 2 weeks later, Derek filed suit. Mitchell versus Mitchell. Property division claim. His argument. The house was purchased in October 2012. But his appeal of the default divorce wasn't finalized until May 2013. Technically, we were still married when I bought the house. Therefore, marital property. Therefore, he's entitled to half. $185,000. His lawyer was sharp. Helena Ortiz, family law specialist. Her motion was thorough. She found the procedural opening. Derek had filed to vacate the default judgment in April 2013, claiming he never received proper notice. The appeal hearing was set for May, which meant that on October 15, 2012, when I closed on the house, I was legally still married. The divorce wasn't final until the judge denied Derek's appeal in May 2013. 7 months. That's the window they were exploiting. My lawyer, David Chen, was grim. Technically, they have a case. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state. If you acquire the asset during marriage, even if separated, it can be divided. I used my money. Money I earned after we separated. Doesn't matter. The timing matters. You want to fight this, we fight. But it's going to cost you, and we might lose. Legal fees. David quoted $25,000 to $40,000 to take it to trial. I'd already spent $8,000 on the initial divorce. Now this. Why is he doing this? I asked David. He never wanted the marriage. Never wanted responsibility. Why does he want my house? David shrugged. Leverage. Money. Spite. or someone's pushing him to do it. That someone, I'd learn, had a very personal interest in my bank account. Court date, September 2013. Mecklenburg County Courthouse, Charlotte. Courtroom 5C Judge Patricia Hendricks presiding, same judge who'd granted the original divorce. Derek arrived with Helena Ortiz. He wore a suit, first time Sandra had seen him in anything but jeans and a t-shirt. Hair cut short, sober expression. Playing the part. Frank was there too. He'd told Derek he was coming to support him, but Frank sat on Sandra's side of the courtroom. The hearing started at 10 a.m. Helena Ortiz stood. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of property division. My client and the defendant were legally married when the property at 847 Maple Ridge Drive was purchased. Under North Carolina General Statute 50-20, that's the law governing property division in divorce. All property acquired during marriage is subject to equitable distribution. Judge Hendricks looked at Sandra. Miss Mitchell, you contest this? Sandra stood. David had coached her. Be calm, stick to facts. Yes, Your Honor. I purchased that house with money I had earned after we separated. Derek and I hadn't lived together in 2 years. He contributed nothing to the down payment, nothing to the mortgage. The only reason we were technically still married was because he ignored divorce proceedings for 2 years. But you were married, Helena interjected. The law doesn't care about separation. Marriage is marriage until the court says otherwise. Judge Hendricks held up a hand. I'll decide what the law cares about, counselor. She turned to Derek. Mr. Mitchell, where were you living in October 2012 when this house was purchased? Derek cleared his throat. I was staying with my business partner, Victor Malone, in Davidson. We were working on our DJ business. How often did you see your son? Pause. Weekends, when I could. How often did you contribute financially to his care? Longer pause. My father was helping us. I was building a business. That's not what I asked. I didn't have steady income at that time, Your Honor. Judge Hendricks made a note. Miss Mitchell, you have financial records showing the source of your down payment. David handed up documents. Bank statements from the sale of Sandra's boutique, the loan agreement with her mother, her employment contract. The judge reviewed them, looked at Derek. Mr. Mitchell, I see substantial deposits into your personal account from Frank Mitchell during this period. Did any of that money go toward the house purchase? No, Your Honor, but did any of it go toward supporting your son? Derek's jaw clenched. It went toward building my business, which would eventually support my family. Your family you were divorced from. Helena jumped in. Your Honor, my client believed reconciliation was possible. The family photos from that period. Yes, the photos, Judge Hendricks said dryly. Staged for his father's benefit, I understand. She looked at Frank. Mr. Mitchell, you sent your son money believing it was supporting his child. Frank stood. He looked 10 years older than he had in June. Yes, ma'am. I sent $3,500 a month for 4 years. I thought I was helping my grandson. And did that money help your grandson? No, ma'am. Sandra never saw it. I don't know where it went. Judge Hendricks turned to Derek. Cold now. Where did it go, Mr. Mitchell? Before Derek could answer, David stood. Your Honor, I'd like to call a witness. Victor Malone. Victor Malone entered the courtroom. 30 years old, well-built, wearing expensive jeans and a designer shirt. Confident walk. He smiled at Derek. Derek looked away. David questioned him. Mr. Malone, how long have you known Derek Mitchell? Since high school, about 12 years. And you two worked together as DJs? Yeah, we had a residency at Club Meridian, plus private events. Derek lived with you from 2009 to 2013, correct? He stayed with me, yeah. Not full-time at first, but eventually, yeah. Did he pay rent? Victor shifted. No, we were partners. Business partners. Just business. Felina objected. Relevance, Your Honor? David pulled out a document. Your Honor, I have a lease agreement for a 2-bedroom apartment in Davidson, signed in March 2010. Both Derek Mitchell and Victor Malone are listed as co-tenants, equal shares. He handed it to the judge. Mr. Malone, did Derek pay half the rent on this apartment? Yeah. How much? $1,100 a month. Split was $550 each. David did the math on a notepad. From March 2010 to May 2013, that's 38 months. At $550 per month, Derek paid you $20,900 in rent. He turned to Derek. Money your father sent for your son's daycare went to rent on an apartment you shared with Victor Malone? Derek's lawyer objected. David rephrased. Let me ask differently. Mr. Malone, did Derek Mitchell make any other financial contributions to your shared household? Victor hesitated, looked at Derek. Derek's face was stone. Yeah, he paid for studio equipment. Soundboards, mixers, recording software. Probably another $30,000 total. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Frank made a sound like he'd been punched. David pressed on. Did this equipment belong to you or Derek? Technically me. It was in my house. So Derek gave you $50,000 over 3 years, lived with you rent-free initially then as a co-tenant, and owns none of the equipment he purchased. We were building a business together. David pulled out another paper. This is the LLC registration for Malone Entertainment Services, filed March 2011. Sole owner, Victor Malone. Where's Derek Mitchell's name? Silence. Mr. Malone, was Derek Mitchell your business partner or your romantic partner? The courtroom went silent. Helena was on her feet. Objection. This is outrageous. Judge Hendricks waved her down. I'll allow it. Mr. Malone, answer the question. Victor looked at the floor. Both. The courtroom exploded. Frank Mitchell stood up, stumbled, sat back down. Someone handed him water. Derek's face was red. Vic, what the hell? Judge Hendricks banged her gavel. Mr. Mitchell, sit down and be quiet. She turned to Victor. You and Derek Mitchell were in a romantic relationship while he was married to Sandra Mitchell. Yes, ma'am. Started in 2009, right after his son was born. And the money his father sent, money intended for his child, Derek spent on your shared life together. I didn't know about his dad's money. Derek he paid for stuff. I didn't ask where it came from. David pulled out the final piece. Your Honor, I have Instagram posts from Victor Malone's public account. Posted October 2012, same month Sandra bought her house. He showed the judge his phone, projected on the courtroom screen, a photo of Derek and Victor at a restaurant. Caption, 5 years with my ride or die. Love you, D. Another photo, Derek and Victor on a beach. Caption, anniversary trip. Hilton Head. Just us. Posted October 14th, 2012, 1 day before Sandra closed on her house. Frank Mitchell stood, walked out of the courtroom, didn't look back. Derek called after him. Dad, Dad. Judge Hendricks banged her gavel. We'll take a 15-minute recess. The hallway outside courtroom 5C. Frank was leaning against the wall, face in his hands, shoulders shaking. I approached slowly. Frank, I'm so sorry. He looked up, eyes red. You knew? I suspected. I didn't have proof, and I didn't want to hurt you. Derek came out, saw us, walked over. Dad, let me explain. Frank held up a hand. Don't. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Frank's voice was steady, cold. You lied to me. For 4 years. You took my money I sent from my grandson, and you spent it on your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. I saw the photos, Derek. 5-year anniversary. That was 2009. Same year Alex was born. You were with him while Sandra was pregnant, while she was working 2 jobs, while I thought I was helping you be a father. Derek's voice cracked. I tried. I tried to be what you wanted. I tried to be straight, to have a family too. I never asked you to be straight, Frank said quietly. I asked you to be honest. I asked you to be a man. A father. You failed at both. Silence. Dad, please. I'm done. Frank turned to me. Sandra, whatever that judge decides, you keep that house. You earned it. He doesn't deserve a dime. He walked away, down the hall, out the courthouse doors. Derek stared after him. For a moment, Sandra saw the boy he used to be. Lost. Scared. Then his face hardened. He turned to her. This is your fault. You turned him against me. I stared at him. Your father just found out you stole $168,000 from your son. That's on you, not me. I didn't steal, I invested. In someone else's business, someone else's life, while I raised our child alone. His jaw clenched. You wanted the divorce. I wanted a husband. You were never going to be that. Not for me. Helena Ortiz appeared. We're being called back in. Judge Hendricks returned to the bench. The courtroom settled. I've reviewed the evidence and applicable law, she began. This case asked me to decide whether property purchased by one spouse during separation, using that spouse's separate funds, should be divided with the other spouse who contributed nothing and, in fact, was actively deceiving both his spouse and his own father. She looked directly at Derek. Mr. Mitchell, I want to be clear. Under North Carolina law, you're technically correct. The property acquired during marriage, even during separation, can be subject to equitable distribution. Equitable, however, does not mean equal. It means fair. She shuffled papers. Miss Mitchell purchased 847 Maple Ridge Drive with $62,000 from the sale of her business, $75,000 loaned by her mother, and a mortgage she alone qualified for and has been paying for 11 months. Mr. Mitchell contributed $0 to the purchase, $0 to the mortgage, and $0 to the care of his son during the relevant period. Furthermore, evidence shows Mr. Mitchell received $168,000 from his father intended for the support of his child and spouse, none of which he used for that purpose. Instead, he used those funds to support a separate household with his romantic partner. In consideration of all factors, I find that an equitable distribution of the property at 847 Maple Ridge Drive is as follows. Sandra Mitchell retains 100% ownership. Derek Mitchell receives $0. Derek's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we intend to appeal. You're welcome to try, Counselor. This ruling stands. The gavel came down. Sandra's hands shook. Relief flooded through her chest. The house was hers. Derek stood abruptly, walked out without a word. Outside, Frank's car was already gone. 6 months later. Sandra's kitchen. Saturday morning. Coffee in her chipped Duke University mug, a gift from her mother years ago. Sunlight through the window over the sink. Alex, now 5, was in the backyard. Sandbox. Toy trucks, making engine noises. James, her boyfriend of 18 months, was making pancakes. They'd met at a photography exhibit. He'd taken portraits of small business owners for a local magazine, including her when she still owned the boutique. He was kind, present. He asked about her day and actually listened. You okay? James asked. She nodded. Yeah, just thinking. About? Frank. I sent him Christmas cards, birthday cards for 2 years. He never responded. You can't blame him for needing distance. I don't. He was a good grandfather. Alex deserves to know him. James flipped a pancake. Maybe someday, when Frank's ready. Maybe, maybe not. Derek had moved to Atlanta. Last she heard, he and Victor had broken up. Derek was working at a corporate event company, not playing music anymore. She didn't hate him. Hating took energy she didn't have. The legal fees had cost her $31,000. Worth it, but it hurt. Some nights she still lay awake doing math. Mortgage, insurance, utilities, daycare, groceries. She made it work, but barely. But the house was hers. Alex had a home. Stability. Safety. That's what mattered. "Mom," Alex called from the backyard. "Come see what I built." Sandra walked out. Alex had constructed an elaborate tunnel system for his trucks. Ridges made from sticks. Roads marked with pebbles. "That's amazing, baby. It's for the construction company I'm gonna have when I grow up." She smiled. Her son. Building things. Making plans. Not like his father. She'd made mistakes. Married too fast. Ignored warning signs. Believed promises that were never real. But she'd also learned something. You can work 2 jobs, sacrifice everything, give a person your whole heart, and some people will still take it all and call you selfish when you finally say no. That's not love. That's theft, and I'm done being robbed. Sometimes the hardest thing is walking away from someone you thought you'd die for. And sometimes you walk away and build something better. What would you have done in Sandra's situation? Would you have fought for the house, knowing it might cost $30,000 or more in legal fees? Or would you have settled, given Derek some portion, just to end it? Comment below. Your story might help someone facing the same choice. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. And if you've been through something similar, if you've been betrayed by someone you trusted, had to fight for what you built, had to explain to a child why their other parent isn't around, I see you. You're stronger than you know. Thank you for listening.